Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm Fred, your host for today's episode of the English Learning Podcast here on English Every Day. I'm so glad you're here with me today because we're going to talk about something really important for your English journey. Today, we'll discuss how you can train your brain to think in English. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. How can I possibly start thinking in English? It might sound like a big challenge, especially if English is not your first language. But trust me, it's not only possible, it's a skill that can dramatically improve your language ability. When you start thinking in English, you'll notice that you speak more fluently, you understand better, and you feel more confident when using the language. It's like switching gears in your mind and making English your natural way of thinking. In this episode, we're going to break it down step by step and show you how you can start training your brain today. It's easier than you think. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical tips that you can use every day to make thinking in English a habit. So, whether you're a beginner or you've been studying English for a while, this episode will help you move one step closer to becoming a more confident English speaker. All right, let's get started. Now that we've introduced the topic, let's dive into why thinking in English is so important. You might be asking yourself, why should I train my brain to think in English? Isn't it enough just to learn words and grammar? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's break it down. First, when you start thinking in English, it helps you become more fluent. Fluent speakers don't have to stop and translate every word in their heads before they speak. Instead, they just know what to say. And this is exactly what thinking in English does for you. It lets you start thinking directly in English without the need to first translate everything from your native language. This makes speaking much quicker and more natural. Second, thinking in English reduces the time it takes to respond in conversations. If you're still translating in your head, you might find yourself hesitating while trying to find the right word or phrase. This can make conversations feel slower or less confident. But when you think in English, you'll have faster access to words, phrases, and expressions. You'll start to respond more quickly and easily, which leads to smoother and more natural conversations. Third, when you train your brain to think in English, you'll start feeling more confident in your speaking ability. Think about it. If you were able to express yourself in English as easily as you do in your own language, wouldn't you feel more confident? That's exactly what happens when you start thinking in English. You'll no longer be worried about finding the right words or making mistakes. Instead, you'll focus on sharing your ideas clearly and confidently. As we continue, let's talk about how you can actually start thinking in English. The first step is to simplify your thoughts. You don't need long or complex sentences inside your head. Start with short, simple ideas. For example, instead of thinking, I am going to prepare breakfast in the kitchen, you can think, I make breakfast. This helps your brain process English faster. Another useful habit is to name things around you in English. Look at your environment and quietly say the words in your mind. Chair, table, window. This may seem very simple, but it builds a strong foundation. Next, try to describe what you're doing. For example, I'm walking to work. I'm drinking coffee. I'm opening my laptop. These small sentences train your brain to stay in English. Another powerful technique is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to English and repeating it out loud as closely as possible. You copy the rhythm, the tone, and the speed. This helps you connect sound, meaning, and speaking together. When you shadow regularly, thinking in English becomes automatic. You no longer stop to translate in your head. Your brain starts reacting in English naturally. It's also important to be patient with yourself. Thinking in English is a habit, and habits take time. Some days will feel easy. Other days you may feel stuck. That is completely normal. The key is consistency. Even 5 minutes a day can make a big difference if you practice regularly. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. Mistakes are part of learning. Every mistake means you are trying, and trying means progress. So keep listening, keep shadowing, and keep thinking in English a little more every day. As we come to the end of this episode, let's take a moment to review. Today, you listened to a full daily routine from morning to afternoon and evening. You heard simple, clear, natural English. You practiced listening. You practiced repeating. And most importantly, you practiced speaking. Talking about your day is one of the best ways to improve your English because your life is familiar. The words are real. The sentences are useful. And you can practice anytime, anywhere. Remember, you don't need perfect grammar. You don't need advanced vocabulary. You just need to speak. One sentence, then another sentence. Little by little, your confidence grows. Your listening improves. Your speaking becomes smoother. And thinking in English starts to feel natural. Come back to this episode as many times as you like. Listen again, shadow again, and each time try to add one new detail to your own story. This is how real progress happens. This is English every day. I'm Tom, and I'm proud of you for practicing today. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep going, one real sentence at a time. Bye for now.